Is your student bringing in scholarship money and now you're wondering, oh gosh, are we going to have to pay taxes on this? Maybe you're just wondering, do we have to pay taxes on scholarships, or what are the scholarship tax rules? Well, in this quick video, we're going to cover all of that and so much more, including how to report scholarships on taxes, tax deductions, and towards the end of this video, I'm going to give you a tip where if your student is getting to the point where they might have to pay taxes, how they can reduce them. Now, if you haven't already, make sure that you click subscribe, because this is just one of many videos I'm releasing on how to secure a debt-free degree for your family. Hello, my name is Jocelyn Pearson, founder of the Scholarship System, where we redefine paying for college so that we can help families avoid student loan debt when sending their students through college. In fact, our primary weapon against student loan debt is scholarships. Now, I have to start off with my own story for this video because I want to show you that I have been through almost all of these scenarios. So I actually received 6 figures in scholarships every single year in college. I received more and more, to the point where the amount that I received not only covered the bill that the university had on my account, but actually I received an overage check every semester, which means that they cut me a check for the remaining amount of money. So I had extra money left over. So this is a pretty good situation. And this is what we want your student to get to, right? We want them to get to where they don't have to worry about where the next payment is going to come from. They can actually focus on their degree and their future. Now, if you are interested in learning how I got to 6 figures, where I found legitimate scholarships that actually helped pay for my education, you can click the link below to sign up for a free training that I'm offering called the 6 Steps to Securing Scholarships. I'll remind you towards the end of the video as well. Now, I actually also wanted to poll our families in the scholarship system about whether or not they paid taxes on any kind of scholarships. Now, the majority of them said no. A few of them said we had to report them, of course, but we didn't end up paying. And a few people did say yes. So I want to explain what you'd have to pay when you don't and how to avoid it. Taxes on scholarships are really based on how the money is used. So your student does not have to pay taxes on college scholarships if the money is used on qualified educational expenses. So this is based on the IRS definition. You and I would surely disagree with what is required for an education, but this includes things like tuition, fees, books, any kind of equipment and supplies that are listed for the courses. So anything that is very clearly on that bill that is required for the course work. Now, there's one big expense though that can be on that bill that unfortunately is under the taxable scholarship funds, and that is any scholarship funds used for room and board. This is a huge hit when it comes to the bill, because room and board can be a huge amount of that bill. They also don't consider insurances, medical costs, transportation, utilities, any kind of supplies that are not required for a course, or any kind of living expenses as a qualified education expense. Therefore, any of those items would require claiming them or paying taxes on them if that's what they are for. Similarly, any money that's spent on sports does not count as non-taxable. So unless the sport is part of an actual course, which can happen, there are golf classes, etc. Unless the sport is actually a course that they're enrolled in, then those expenses related to sports are not tax exempt either. Now, another way that scholarship committees sometimes award money, or actually even universities sometimes give money this way, is by providing it as a stipend for work. In fact, actually, as a student, I had a few jobs through the university, whether it was as a TA or a teacher's assistant, or a summer job where we were working as orientation leaders, guiding incoming freshmen throughout the university. Those jobs often paid me as a stipend amount versus an hourly wage or something like that. Now, unfortunately, stipends are considered income, and therefore a student would receive, say, a W-2 that they would have to claim on taxes. So stipends are non-tax exempt either. So they are taxable if it is worded as a stipend, or if it is worded as earned income, they're going to get a W-2 that they do have to claim on their taxes. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, Is there a tax credit that we can use to decrease the chances of this? The answer is not necessarily a scholarship tax credit, but there are education tax credits. And if you'd like to see a video explaining what those education tax credits are, comment below. In fact, we have a full lesson on this for our members, and one of our members went through a 30-minute lesson and saved over $2,000 on taxes the following year because of it. So these education tax credits can be a huge help for families. So comment below and just say tax credit video, please, and I will put that on the list. The thing with these education tax credits is that they cannot be used on expenses that were paid for by scholarships. So in fact, actually myself, because I had a free ride, I had enough scholarship money to cover my entire bill, we never got to use these tax credits because we didn't technically pay out of pocket for anything for my education, which again is a situation that I hope that your family gets to. Taxes or not, ultimately it's always best to not have to borrow for paying for college, right? So how are these scholarships submitted when it comes to taxes? So the way this works is the university will give your student a 1098-T form. This is where your student will receive the total amount of expenses that the university charged, and then the difference between that and the money that they received. So you'll see one section with the expenses, one section with the money received, and then that difference, if they received more money than the expenses, then that would be what would count towards taxes. Now, sometimes we see scholarships send money directly to a student. Now, this is actually a little bit of a gray area where they can decide if they want to submit a 1099 form or not, but I've seen in the past where they will submit a 1099 miscellaneous form that might be given to your student. And if that's the case, then you do want to enter it, or at least talk to your CPA and see if you need to enter it. Now, again, if they do give money directly to the student and it is earned, if it is something that is given in exchange for something, for labor, for work, then actually your student should get a W-2 for that and claim that on the taxes. So those are the three forms that you could be looking at: a 1098-T, a 1099 miscellaneous, or a W-2, depending on what the money is used for, how it's given to the student, and whether or not they delivered any kind of services or labor in exchange for it. Now, I want to give a quick tip here. So as I said earlier in my story, I did receive enough money to where I had an excess amount. That said, I never, ever paid taxes, but I also did work part-time jobs. So I think that if I looked at my taxes from back then, it's probably that it averaged out to where the money that I would have received back from the part-time work that I was doing, maybe that compensated for any kind of excess amount. It is not a huge amount of taxes. Again, like I said, I never had to pay anything, and I got to where I had six figures in overage checks every single semester. Even though we followed all the rules, we legally submitted taxes every single year. So an idea here might be, if your student does get to the point where they may have to pay taxes, where they are getting an overage check, congratulations, by the way. If they do get to that situation, then maybe a good idea would be to get a part-time job, and that way that can kind of compensate for any kind of overage checks that they'd have to pay taxes on. It's proven that students who have part-time jobs during college do better anyway. So this is actually a huge life skill, a huge opportunity, and it can give them a chance to save a chunk of change for when they graduate, maybe to buy a rental property or whatever it is that they want to pursue with that money. So that is a quick tip on how we can reduce the amount that we might end up having to pay if we are sitting in that situation. So the question is it worth dealing with scholarships and taxes? Is it worth applying to scholarships if they fall into these taxable categories? In my opinion, the answer is of course it is, because the thing is, ultimately, there is going to be a way larger expense if they have to borrow student debt to pay for college. When we're talking about interest, when we're talking about late payments, when we're talking about just the fact that it takes a student on average 21 years to pay off student loan debt, it is a no-brainer that regardless of taxes, your student should be pursuing scholarships. That is absolutely the better course rather than worrying about whether or not it's worth it. Now, don't forget to comment below if you want that video on education tax credits. And also, again, I mentioned that free training. So if you are curious on how to get started on scholarships or where you can find legitimate scholarships with less competition that your student can apply to, just click the link below. It's a free training. You'll see there are 6 steps to securing scholarships, and we will get you started right away. So that's it for scholarships and taxes. I hope you found this helpful. Again, click subscribe if you did, click thumbs up if you found this helpful, and don't forget to comment below. I will see you in the next video.